to be with you today. A little bit different today, a little different deal today than usual. I've been on the crucifixion and been knee-deep in that, and I'm really not done with that, but I kind of needed to talk about this a little bit this morning because of stuff that's coming up, so a little different this morning, so don't hold it against me. I'll be back to old form next week, I promise. Why do we sing? You know, that's a good question, isn't it? Music is old as time, I guess. I'm sure Adam and Eve probably beat on a rock or something, but I'm sure that music is just about as old as time itself. And it's something that has evolved over the centuries, over the ages. It's something that has been in Judaism ever since the beginning. Miriam and Moses sang a song. Miriam sang a song when they crossed the Red Sea. It's something that has existed in the idea of praise to God, and oftentimes that's the way we see singing as praise, and oftentimes as worship. In the New Testament, we talk a lot about, or not a lot, but some about singing and the idea and almost the command of what that's to accomplish. Sometimes when we sing in a congregation, we maybe have our mind on other things. Sometimes we sing songs we sang 100 times before, maybe 1,000 times before, and a lot of these hymns I've sang for, 40, 50, some of them probably 55 years of my life, long as I can possibly remember. Since the time I can remember, I've sang some of these hymns. I grew up with it. I grew up with hymns in the car, when he sang Because He Lives. That's a song I remember as a kid. That was a new song when I was a kid. It's an old song now. I remember my grandmother's favorite song was The Old Rugged Cross, my Aunt Audra's favorite song. I remember these things. People in this church that have passed away, but I remember them because of their songs. Monty Fay loved Paradise Valley, and Dink loved Beautiful Star of Bethlehem. Every time you'd sing that, she would just light up, She loved that hymn. Hymns and music is part of us. Music moves us. I grew up, as you know, Catholic and Baptist, and I remember walking into a cathedral and hearing that pipe organ and the sound of that, and it was just amazing to hear that. And I grew up singing in youth choir and doing those things as a young man, and I always loved that. And the first time I ever walked into this church, back in about 1983 or so, 82 or 3, which wasn't this church then. It was this old church that used to sit right here, and I sat back about right by that wall back here, and where that is, in a chair. And first time I ever walked in, and there wasn't an instrument in here, and I thought, what the heck, what's going on? And this is a pretty nice building, not to be able to afford a piano. I never knew there was such a thing as people that didn't sing with instruments. Never knew that it existed. Never knew such a thing as a child growing up. And it was something that as I became a member of the church, it was something I had to kind of digest. And I understand why we don't do that. And this is not a doctrinal lesson this morning. I've taught plenty of those, and it's not what this is. But why do we sing? The Bible tells us that, right? Sometimes it's comforting. It's a way that we look towards God. It's a way that we evangelize oftentimes. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns, probably singing pieces of the Psalms more than likely. 1 Corinthians 14, what is the outcome then? I will pray with the Spirit. I will pray with the mind also. I will sing with the Spirit, and I will also sing with my mind. The idea that singing is conscious, something to move us, to bring us closer to God or to bring us closer to one another. In Hebrews 2:12, it says, I will proclaim your name to my brethren in the midst of the congregation. I will sing your praise. So the idea that sometimes singing is just singing praise to God. It's something that we do, right? It's something that we're kind of commanded to do, something that was done in the very beginning of worship, as we know. In James 5:13, he says, is anyone among you suffering? He must pray. Is anyone cheerful? He is to sing praises. So almost a command there, something that we're to do, to sing, to lift our voices to God. And some people say, well, I'm not a really good singer. I don't think God's really listening to your voice. He's listening to your heart. And I think we see that in Ephesians 5:19, speaking to one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody within our heart. The idea of singing is not so much that it's pleasing, but it's within the heart of man. That singing should not just come from our voice, come from our lungs. The idea of praise to God and singing songs is something that should come from our heart, something that we should feel. And oftentimes music, hymns, oftentimes do that to us. They become very powerful within our lives. There's people here that have lost loved ones over the years, and a particular song would be led, and they would start to tear up and cry, and they would have to leave. And later on, I would say, well, what happened? And they'd say, oh, that song just reminds me so much of whoever that was that had passed. When I sing here, I hear the ghosts of our past singing oftentimes with me when I sing here. And I don't know how many of you ever knew or remember Ralph Cope, but what an amazing tenor Ralph was. And sometimes I'll sit and sing, and he used to sit right back there about where Ron was, and I can still hear old Ralph singing tenor. It's not often you get big voice tenors, but boy, what a tenor, you know. And I still hear him singing, and I lead songs, and I lead Paradise Valley. We sing Paradise Valley, and I still look for Monty Faye sitting back there, or we sing Beautiful Star of Bethlehem, and I still think about Dink sitting right back there. Songs are memories. They're powerful, and they carry meaning for us. In Colossians 3, it says, let the word of Christ richly dwell within you with all wisdom. And then Paul tells us why we do it. Teaching and admonishing one another with psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with thankfulness in your hearts to God. So singing is important in the church. Why do we sing? Paul says to teach and admonish one another, to give praise to God, to direct our minds and hearts to learn. You know, singing is one of the most powerful learning instruments that we possess. If you want to learn the books, the Judges, we sing the Song of Judges or the song of the book of the New Testament. You know, the reason I know the first part of Hebrews is because of a song that a cappella put out years ago. In the beginning, God created the heavens, and that's why I know the first part of Hebrews. You know the ABCs because you sing them. I still sing the ABCs because I don't know what comes after what. And, you know, I'm 60-something years old, and I still catch myself, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know. What comes after that? I don't know anymore. You know, I've lost that somewhere down the road. So singing is powerful, and it's something we learn and we teach and we admonish. But that's really not what this lesson's about this morning. You and I, we're an a cappella church. What does that mean? It means that we're in worship. Because we take silence to be authority, and that's every scripture in the Bible, the New Testament about singing, I just give to you, there's no more. And when we do that, all we see is singing, and we take that to be authority. We take that to be an authority. We believe that in worship, we're not to use instruments, and that's why we don't. That's why we sing a cappella. Some people don't know that. It's probably one of the biggest things you notice when you walk into this building compared to other churches, is that there's no instruments. And I love it that way. I didn't grow up that way. It was different for me, I've got to admit. But now when I sing with the instruments, they just get in my way. I really don't care for it. But that's not what this lesson's about. We're required to do it, right? We're required. And do we accomplish that? You know, that's a really big question. You know, you expect a preacher to be prepared on Sunday morning, and I expect to be myself prepared. It's very important to me when I stand before you that I've studied, that I know what I'm going to say. Well, I generally don't know what I'm going to say, but I have a gist of what I'm going to say, and I'm prepared to do that. I'm prepared to give you that lesson. I'm prepared on Sunday night to give you that lesson, and on Wednesday to teach a class. You expect me to be prepared to do that. If I got up here on Sunday morning and said, well, I really don't know what we're going to talk about this morning, let's just flip open, and I kind of like to do that, but I know y'all wouldn't appreciate it. Let's just flip open, kind of see where we land, and we'll just kind of go from there. Y'all would be like, man, that guy, he's just not prepared, right? He's just not prepared. But you know, the song leader sets a tone for worship in our congregation. The person who gets up here and leads those songs before we ever start, they set the tone for our service. They're the ones who really tell us when we're going to pray, when we're going to take communion. They try to sing a song to prepare our minds for communion. They are a worship leader, we might call that. I'm just a little piece of the puzzle. And songs make a big difference. What they choose to sing. And sometimes they might sing a brand new song, and people be like, well, I wish you hadn't done that. Nobody knows that. And some people are like, well, I really like that. You know, we're learning something new. So song leaders have a big responsibility. And they need to be prepared too, don't they? Song leaders need to be prepared. When a song leader gets up to lead a song or to lead us in song, he needs to know that song. He needs to know how he's going to do that, and he needs to be able to lead that. He needs to know how to pitch it. He needs to know how to lead, because that's all he's doing is just leading us, right? And he needs to know how to do that. And of course, if he chooses a new song or maybe a praise song that teens sing, then his job's a little harder, because he's up here kind of singing a solo for a little bit until people pick up on it and learn it, right? But we get sung in the same songs. Would you all agree with that? We get hung in the same loop of songs. Everybody here would agree with that, right? There's probably 20 or 25 songs, realistically, if we wrote them down, and we sing those songs pretty much all year long. Would everybody pretty well agree with that, right? We kind of get hung in that loop. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know what? When we sing a song, there's certain songs. Kim has one, Susie has one, I've got a couple. There's certain songs when the song leader gets up and says that song, inside of us we're going, oh no. You know, I've literally sung that song 5 zillion times in my life, you know. And I'm going to tell you, one of those songs for me is Just As I Am. When I grew up in a Baptist church. In a Baptist church, they sing the invitation until somebody comes. And I promise you, I've sang 5 zillion verses of Just As I Am. And Jim's the only one that leads that. I just want to throw something at him when he goes that song, you know? Because literally that song, it does something to me. I mean, it's a great song. It really is. But it's just one of those things in my life, right? So we need to be able to sing new songs, I think. Because if we just sing the same songs over and over and over, we get numb to them after a while. Would you agree with that? We just sing them and we know them, and we're not thinking about the words, we're not thinking about what they say anymore. We just sing it. And that's not what God tells us to do. God tells us we're supposed to teach, we're supposed to admonish, we're supposed to learn. And to do that, we kind of got to learn new songs. We kind of got to be able to do that. And we got to do that effectively in a way that makes sense, right? And so, since we're required, do we accomplish it? Well, you know, we're a cappella people, and when songs come up on this board behind us, I really have a place I'm going with this, so bear with me. This isn't a music lesson. Well, it's kind of a music lesson, but not really a music lesson. Just bear with me. I'm going to get there. So when we sing, we use these bars, and everybody in here, and a lot of people say, well, Rex, I'm just not a musician. You know, I've never played an instrument. I don't really understand this, you know. I sing them because I know them. There's been song leaders here. Keith Estes was one that would always say, you know, I don't know any music. He says, I just listen to it till I get it, and then I just get up and lead it, and, you know, and that's okay. Junior Bailey, if y'all know Junior, he always said, Rex, he says, me and you, we sing the same way. He says, we sing by the letter. And I said, we do, and he says, yeah, we just stand up and let her go. And I said, yeah, I know what you mean, right? And so, but we do this, and in this there's parts, right? In music, in vocal music, not in instrumental music, there's sopranos and altos, which is mostly the women's part at the top scale. We call that the treble clef. And there's a tenor and a bass, and the bass clef on the bottom. And those are 4-part harmony. Now, churches didn't always sing in 4-part harmony. Early church certainly didn't sing in 4-part harmony. Early churches were mostly chants. They were mostly psalms. They were mostly sang in unison. They're beautiful to listen to. If you ever listen to Jews, to cantors in Judaism, do things very beautiful to listen to. But we don't do that. We're 4-part singers. And that happened a couple of centuries ago, 3 centuries ago. And that's something that's evolved. And so you and I, that's what we do. That's just how we do it in our society, in our world. And if you was ever in music years ago, you would know that all these little lines and all these little spaces are notes, letters, right? And if you were ever in any kind of music, you know that the little spaces in the treble clef our face, right? F-A-C-E, and then the lines are every good boy does fine, right? And that's how we learned that years ago. But we don't have to care about that because that's not who we are. We're not playing an instrument. We're not playing a piano. If you're playing a piano, your right hand to be playing that treble and your left hand to be playing that bass clef. But we don't worry about that because we're not doing that. We're vocal people. And so vocal music is different. We're shape note people. You know, I said that one time and everybody said, I don't know what that means. I didn't know we were shape note people. But we're shape note people. Whether you know that or not, that's our heritage. That's our history. That's where we come from. And shape notes are part of a cappella music. And believe it or not, they actually make shape note typewriters. Interesting fact, different story. But we're shape note people. If you ever watched The Sound of Music, and Julie Andrews, I love Sound of Music, it's one of my favorite shows. Anyway, but if you ever watch Sound of Music, and she sings that little song, right? Do, a deer, a female deer, ray, a drop of golden sun, me a name I call myself, fall on lady rose, so a needle point thread, law, note that follow, so tea, a drink with jam and bread, right? That will bring us back to do, do, re, mi. Well, that's vocal music. And we're shape notes. And if you look at your book in front of you, or you look at these slides that we put up, very carefully, you'll notice that every note on those has a shape. And every shape corresponds to a musical note. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And so technically, if you learn this, I'm not saying we're going to learn this morning, but if you teach yourself to do this, go watch The Sound of Music. Pull that up on YouTube. And she's leading them in a carriage, right? And she's got her little deal, and she's pointing to them. They're like, do, re, 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 fa, fa. Remember that? And then they sing it. If you know the notes to sing, you can sing most anything, right? Because that's how you learn without knowing a piano, without knowing a guitar, without knowing anything about a musical instrument. That's how you can teach yourself to sing without knowing any of those things. So vocal music is different. And that's who we are. That's our history. That's our heritage. We're shape note people. And most people don't know that, but that's how that works. Not that that's overly important. I want you to know that. So, how do we do it? You know, how do we sing these songs? I'm going somewhere with this in the end. Stay with me. So, put up 448, Shannon. So, you know, this is the greatest commands, right? And this is a song that we're all familiar with. We all sing it. It's a song that has an alto lead. It has the alto. So the first verse of this song is all alto, right? Love one another, for love is of God. And the altos sing that, right? So that's the altos. That's the second line down on the treble clef. Now the first line is the soprano. Second line's the alto. And then first line on your bass clef is your tenors, and the second line is your basses. So in this song, you see you've got two treble lines, two bass lines, because we're splitting this up into altos, sopranos, tenors, and basses. So the altos start this. Now go to the soprano slide. So the sopranos they get called in last on this song. So we don't really get to hear them very much because the sopranos are last, right? So if we sing this song, we get to the end, we've pulled all these parts in. We've pulled in the altos, the sopranos, the tenors, and the basses, right? So if we break this down a little bit into these different verses, so there's a lot of you in here that sing soprano. A lot of you in here have been singing for a lot of years. And when we sing this song, there's a bunch of you in here that play soprano. Elle's in here. Elle's going to help. So when we sing this soprano line, so let's sing this, just the top, let's just sopranos, just the top line, just the sopranos. So y'all ready? Okay. Love the Lord. So that's the soprano. So that's the high part, right? That's the top line of the treble clef. That's the sopranos. So if you're going to have the altos in there, now go back. So the sopranos, so now let's sing the alto part. So we got a lot of altos in here. Well, alto's kind of the main theme of this song, so let's do the altos. Love one another. Okay, now go back and do the tenors. Tenors, Elijah. God is love. Now go back. So then we get the basses, right? Oh, basses. Love bears all things, believes all things, love hopes all things, endures all things. So we put all that together, right? So let's go back to the tenor. Go back to the beginning. Okay. So the tenors, so y'all got this. Now, Maddie said they was at this girls' thing. She says, where do you pitch that, right? In other words, we don't know how to pitch it. Well, like Jeff and them, they use pitch pipes, and I don't, because I just kind of sing off my ear. But if you look at that top note right there on that tenor line or that alto line, that's a do right there, that little upside down triangle. So generally I would start that like do, because that's kind of do to me. But I know this is an alto lead song, so I'm going to raise it a little bit. So I'm going to make mi, do, re, mi. So it's going to be like, love one another. So anyway, the tenor start, or the alto start. Love, go ahead and start. Love one another. Now the sopranos. Oh, basses, sorry. All things believes, all things love, hopes, all things endures, all things. All things believes, all things love, hopes, all things endures, all things love. all things love, hopes, all things endures, all things. And that's kind of the method of four-part harmony, which is what we kind of do. But let's look at something else. Pull the next one up for me. So let's look at this song for a minute. Now, when you look at this song, it's unison. And the reason I brought this up is because if you look at this, where is my pointer? If you look at this first, all these are all do's, you see? The idea here is that we all sing this together. It's in unison, and then it's going to break. Go down a little bit in the chorus. Shannon, go down a couple of slides. We're going to break this. If you look in your book, it's going to say unison, and then it's going to say parts. So that's one way those kind of help us. Them shape notes help us. Go back to the very beginning. So it's like when we're all singing that exact same note, and everybody's singing that same note. See, bass and tenor, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. We're all going to sing exactly that same note. We're singing this whole song in unison until we get to the chorus. So we're all singing this together, if you can see that. And if you can see those shapes, which is hard to do, but if you can see those shapes, every one of those shapes is the same for every part in this song at the beginning. So that's one way shape notes kind of help us a little bit if you look at it, is it kind of says, oh, well, I'm singing the same note as that soprano or whatever. But we all sound different. We call that timbre, okay? That's called timbre in music. It's the idea that different instruments sound different. A clarinet doesn't sound like a flute, doesn't sound like an oboe, doesn't sound like a saxophone. We call that timbre. But in human voices, we have timbre too. Women's voices sound different than men's voices, for the most part, generally. And so there's different timbres. So even though we're all singing the same note, it still has a resonance to it. And so that's how this song works. And then when we get to the chorus of this song, then we split off into parts. So, and you'll see that as we split. When we get down to this refrain right here, to the refrain, now you can see, once again, there's four distinct notes, four distinct parts to this song. So go back up to the beginning and let's sing this. So at the beginning of this song, we all sing the same. We're all singing. A lot of praise songs are that way. We all sing the same. And then we're going to break this off when we get to the refrain. In heavenly armor we'll enter the land. The battle belongs to the Lord. No weapon that's fashioned against us will stand. The battle belongs to the Lord. And we sing glory, honor, power and strength to the Lord. And we sing glory and honor, power and strength to the Lord. When the power of darkness comes in like a flood, the battle belongs to the Lord. He's raised up a standard, the power of his blood. The battle belongs to the Lord. And we sing glory, honor, power and strength to the Lord. And we sing glory and honor, power and strength to the Lord. When your enemy presses in hard, do not fear. The battle belongs to the Lord. Take courage, my friend, your redemption is near. The battle belongs to the Lord. And we sing glory and honor, power and strength to the Lord. And we sing glory and honor, power and strength to the Lord. You know, that's a powerful song, isn't it? And that's how we teach. There's sermons in songs, in music, in the words of Jesus. Go to the next one. Now this song, I only got about 3. I'm going to show you why we're doing this. This is a lot tougher song. It's a lot faster song. It's really meant to be on a higher tempo, but it has some weird leads in it. If you look at the bottom of that second stanza, that will be. And if you look, there's what we call rests at the beginning of that, right here. There's rests right here. Those are rests, and there's rests there on the tenor part. So the alto, soprano, and the tenor they're not singing anything. These rests. The bass is right there. Will be. Now go to the next line. And then we go down to the next line. It's the same thing down here. The soprano and alto are resting. The tenors are resting. I only. Okay, go to the next one. And then we get down to this. What do we get? Same thing. We have a rest here. There's nothing here. The bass is going to go gonna. But then they pick up here, gonna shine. See? And there's your tenor coming in right there. Okay, go to the next line. So it's gonna, who's singing there? See, that's the altos. See, the sopranos are resting, and the basses and tenors are resting, and they're gonna say, it's gonna, heaven's gonna shine. And then they're gonna do the same thing here. See, everybody's resting. Basses and tenors are resting. Sopranos are resting. Altos are gonna be, it's gonna. See, when we get down to here, basses are resting. Our basses and tenors are resting. Sopranos are resting. Your tenors are gonna be right here. Oh, yes, I. Okay, go to the next one. And then once again, we get into the same thing. See the rest there? The altos are going to be here. We're not going to sing. Altos here. We're not going to sing. Altos there. We call that an alto lead. So the altos are actually leading right there in this song as we go through this. Go to the next one. Is that it? Is that the bottom? So that's how that works. So when we sing that, that's where you'll see them other parts coming in, and that's how you know. If you're like a soprano and you see that rest, or a bass, you see that rest, you're like, well, I don't sing there. And the altos are going to sing there. That's kind of tells us who's coming up. Let's try this. This is a fun song. I don't know exactly how sweet heaven will be. Need a bass. Will be. I don't know what beauty or what glory I'll see. I don't know what I'll behold that morning divine. I only know for sure that heaven's really gonna shine. Heaven's gonna shine. Heaven's gonna shine. No, I surely know in this heart of mine. Okay, so let's start over. Let's go back. Let's slow it down. We're going to slow it down. That's how I sing the song in my head. I don't know exactly how sweet heaven will be. I don't know what beauty or what glory I'll see. I don't know what I'll behold that morning divine. Know for sure that heaven's really gonna shine. Heaven's gonna shine. Heaven's gonna shine. No, I'll surely know. Really gonna shine. Yes, there's glory in this soul of mine. Because I know for sure that heaven's really gonna shine. Let's try it again. We'll go slower. You see how this works, kind of? That's how we learn. You see, sometimes we set up, we go through these songs real quick, we don't really learn them, we don't really think about what's going on. And we have to kind of listen to what it's saying, right? Once we learn them, we start to hear these words. I don't know exactly how sweet heaven's going to be. I don't know what glory I'll see, but I know it's going to shine. I don't know exactly how sweet heaven will be. I don't know what beauty or what glory I'll see. I don't know what I'll behold that morning divine. Know for sure that heaven's really gonna shine. Heaven's gonna shine. Heaven's gonna shine. No, I surely know. Really gonna shine. Yes, there's glory in this soul of mine. Know for sure that heaven's really gonna shine. You know, and we sing these songs, we learn them, and that's how we do that. And that's learning new songs. I really thought we knew this song better than this. I love this song. I really thought we'd sung this more than this. But go to the next one, Shannon. Last one, right? This is a song that we grew up singing in the car, and Shannon and Susie sing a lot of alto, and I generally try to sing bass, but on this song they always made me lead it because they wanted to sing the alto part. And we just wore this song out traveling down the road for miles and miles and miles. And it's one of them old songs that you've probably sang 100 times, but go to the chorus, Shannon. And this song has an alto lead in the chorus. Home of the soul. Beautiful song. Go back to the beginning. Let's sing this song. If for the prize we have striven, after our labors are o'er, rest to our souls will be given on the eternal shore. Home of the soul, beautiful home, there we shall rest, never to roam, free from all care, happy and bright. Jesus is there, he is the light, oft in the storm. Lonely are we are sighing for home, longing for thee and beautiful home of the ransom beside the crystal sea, the crystal sea. Yes, a sweet rest is remaining for the true children of God, where there will be no complaining and never a chastening rod. Home of the soul, beautiful home, there we shall rest, never to roam, and free from all care, happy and bright. Jesus is there, he is a light, oft in the storm. Lonely are we, sighing for home, longing for thee and beautiful home of the ransom beside the crystal sea, crystal sea. Bright homeland adorning, and we shall behold the glad dawn. Lean on the Lord till the morning, trust till the night is gone. Home of the soul, beautiful home. Home, ransom beside the crystal sea, the crystal sea. I can close my eyes and going down that road to go snow skiing and hear Sydney helping me sing soprano and Susie and Shannon singing alto. And songs are powerful. They move us, they teach us, they lift us up, they help us to think about God, about things bigger than ourselves. It's something we do in worship that we do together. You know, we talk about communion together, and we do that. But singing is one thing we do in worship that we do together. We teach each other, we admonish one another. The person sitting beside you, the children sitting in the pew, you're doing something, you're touching their life. And this brings me to the point of all this. The point of all this is we have an exciting thing coming up. It's next year. We were excited about getting this. It's next May 27. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Keith Lancaster, if you ever heard a cappella. Some of you probably have, some of you hadn't. I remember the very first a cappella deal I ever was kind of involved in is when Donna Lovell took a bunch of them to see a cappella over at Oklahoma Christian. A lot of years ago, brother. Donna Lovell loaded them up, took them to Oklahoma City to Oklahoma Christians back when Keith Lancaster first started. And I was working and didn't go. And Susie came back, and she had these, I think they were CDs at that time. She had these CDs, and she was like, you just got to listen to this. You just got to listen to a cappella, you know, to this vocal group. And I did, and we got hung on them. We listened to them over and over for a lot of years. A cappella as a group still exists. Keith Lancaster, who started a cappella, he does a thing now called Praise and Harmony. He's been a worship leader for a long, long time. I said early in this, when I started, I said, you expect preachers to be prepared, and you should. But we also need our song leaders to be prepared. But we don't really train them. You know, everybody that leads songs in here, these are guys who volunteer to do that, who don't really have any musical training, who don't have any worship leading training. They just come out of regular things, and they stand up here, and they do a great job, and they do a fantastic job. And we love them for what they do. But the truth is, we just throw them up here. We get them up here when they're young, and we get them up here to lead a few songs. And then when they get older, we just stick them up here and expect them to have all this figured out. And that's not good for us or for them, because singing is an important part of our worship. And what this is, this Praise and Harmony, it's a four-session deal. And how this works is on Friday the 21st, they're going to come in at night in the evening. Keith's going to bring his son in from, or we're going to bring his son in from Tennessee. They're going to come down, a bunch of them are going to come down out of Tulsa and here. They're going to meet with all the song leaders, all the people involved in worship, which is going to be people who do prayers, people who run PowerPoint. They're going to have a meeting with all of them. They're going to try to teach them some things about worship leading and about what they expect to have in worship and how that's going to work. And that'll be on Friday night. And then on Saturday, we're going to have a big thing here at the church. It's if those of you that went to Stillwater, we're going to do the same thing we did in Stillwater. We're going to have a big thing here in the building Saturday. We're going to split the auditorium up into bass and tenor and altos and sopranos. When they did that at Stillwater, they had about 300 or 400 people. I really think we'll have more than we can fit in this building. I hope we do. That's going to be on Saturday morning. We're going to have a praise and harmony session with them where they're going to come in and we're going to work on 4 or 5 different songs, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute. And they're going to help us with those songs and teach us those songs, and they're going to try to teach us how to learn songs and how to put them into our worship, new songs. That's going to be on Saturday morning. Then on Sunday, they're going to do the worship on Sunday morning and going to help with all that. We're going to do it like a worship deal on Sunday morning. They're going to help with the worship, help with the songs, help with how we do things, with the flow of how we do things on our Sunday morning worship. And then on Sunday night, they're going to come back and they're going to work with the teens. It's going to be mostly, we're all going to be here, but they're going to really work on like teen songs, spiritual songs, the teens and the songs they like to sing, and they're going to do all that on Sunday evening. So it's a 4-part deal. And I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited we got this. We contacted them right after Stillwater. We had to put out a $1,000 deposit to hold our spot, and we took care of that, and that's done. And because Susie and I really wanted this to happen, so we took care of that deal, and that's all done. And then we have to, it's kind of expensive. It's $4,800 in addition to that, plus we have to pay travel expenses for his son to come out of Tennessee. So there's another $4,800. The people that knew about this, we've already covered the next $2,400. That's done. We sent that payment. I believe that's all pretty much covered. We actually had some people from Stillwater, Jimmy and Craig's daughter from Stillwater actually sent us $1,000 towards it. They're really big on this. So if you want to help with that, then you're welcome to do that. And if you don't, that's okay. We got to do another $2,400 and probably another $1,000 of travel expenses. But if you want to help with that, if you want to specifically help with that, then you're welcome to do that. Just let Susie know, let the elders know. We really would like not to take this out of the church budget if we don't have to. So that's kind of my plug for that. But now the other thing that's going to happen, which is really kind of fun, is that they're going to send us a list of 47 songs or so about 3 months or 2 months before this happens. We're going to get 47 songs. So all you song leaders and people who like to do this, we have to vet those songs and come up with like 4 or 5 of them that we want to work on. So we're going to choose from a list of songs they send us. We're going to choose 4 or 5 that we're actually going to work on that Saturday morning. So that's going to happen. The other thing that's exciting is Praise and Harmony, and that's the emblem you'll look for if you look for this on your TV. Praise and Harmony has a streaming service now, Praise and Harmony TV. Now that costs you, it's about $12 a month. But we're going to get this, I can't remember, and Susie might remember, we're going to get this for like 6 months or 3 months? 3 months? Huh? 6 months. We're all going to get this for 6 months free. So everybody, 6 months before this happens, y'all are all going to get a login to Praise and Harmony TV. So y'all can actually log into this on your television or on your mobile device. And if you've ever listened to Praise and Harmony, have any of y'all ever listened to any of the Praise and Harmony stuff on YouTube or on Reels or anything? Go listen to it, okay? Really, really great stuff. But the neat thing about Praise and Harmony TV is that just like we broke down that Greatest Command song earlier into soprano, tenor, bass, and alto parts, any song that they've done and any song that we'll do, and most every song that we sing in here, on that Praise and Harmony, you can listen to any part of that song. So if you want to listen to just the tenor part, or just the alto part, or just the bass part, or just the soprano part, you can listen to just that part of that song. And we're all going to get that for free for 6 months before this happens. So 6 months before this happens, we're all going to get a login to Praise and Harmony TV. You're all going to be able to get on that, stream that on your phone, or your mobile device, or on your television set, and you'll be able to listen to everything on there. but also you'll be able to like pick songs you want to learn or songs that we're going to work on, and you'll be able to listen to any part of that song, any distinct part, or listen to the whole thing. So if you never have listened to that, you can go on YouTube, pull up Praise and Harmony. You can listen to that for free, but they sing a lot of the songs we sing. They sing in that. The song that Elijah led last Sunday morning, the song nobody in here knew, that was actually one of the songs we did for Praise and Harmony in Stillwater when we were up at that deal in Stillwater. So I'm really excited about this. I think this is a tremendous opportunity for us to do better and to train our people and to be better at worship and better at what we do, and hopefully to make our singing more meaningful, to make our worship services flow better than they do, and to help us to focus on what God commands us to do. And that's to sing and make melody in our hearts to the Lord, to teach and admonish one another with songs and hymns and spiritual songs. Because that's what singing's about. You know, we spend a lot of time on a lot of things, but we just don't spend much time on our singing and our worship and how that goes. And I'm so excited that we get to do this. And I hope you're excited too. I think this is going to be a tremendous thing. And I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's a ways out. We had to send in the first payment. That's all done. The $1,000 is covered. The first payment's done. We got all that done. This thing's going to happen 6 months out, whenever that is, October, whenever that will be. We'll let it be known. We'll give you all logins to Praise and Harmony TV so you can get on and pull that up on your television set and listen to this. I'm excited for this. I hope you're excited for this. That's what this lesson's about. I shouldn't say lesson. That's what this is about this morning. I'll be back on track next Sunday, I promise. But I just wanted to take time to get this out there to let you know what's happening and hopefully to get you excited about it, because I think it's a tremendous thing. I've listened to these guys my whole life. So I think it's a tremendous thing that they're going to be here. They're going to be working with us. They're going to send us all the PowerPoint stuff and everything to do it. It's going to be an exciting time. So put that on your calendar, and we hope to see you there. We hope to see a lot of people there, and I hope that you're excited about it. It's time we spent time with this, right? Be better at it. Be better at singing, better at worship, better at doing what God calls us to do. Thanks for your time this morning. I know this wasn't a traditional sermon. I hope that you enjoyed the break. I'll be back on it next week, I promise. But thanks for your attention. I hope that you're excited. I know I'm excited. If there's anyone that needs any help with anything, let us know while we stand and sing.